Welcoming all our viewers to International Affairs being broadcasted here in the SATV's Gulshan studio. My name is Shamsul Alam Pantho, the host of the program today, as we are in a very memorable day today. Today's date is August the 5th, and some may refer to this day as 36th of July. There is going to be many mentions of that historical day all throughout the program today. However, we must look at the worldwide situation. U.S. President Donald Trump is stating that the Strait of Hormuz shall be opened very soon and warns Iran of a very hard response if anything were to fail, especially the talks that have been very much anticipated. Before we step into the discussion, let me introduce my panel. Here in the studio, I have Abu Rust, who is, of course, Editor-in-Chief of the Bangladesh Defense Journal, as well as President of the Institute of Strategy and Tactics Research. I welcome you on to the program. Alongside, we will have our geopolitical correspondent, Norman Floyd Barnes, joining us from Washington, District of Columbia. We have been discussing, analyzing, and trying to make sense of this ever-so-changing world landscape, especially when it comes to the various leaders that represent various territories. I want to begin with the question towards Norman Floyd Barnes. How are you feeling about Donald Trump? Every now and then he is engaging himself and the military in actions against Iran, then stepping back, and then definitely now looking forward to an opening of the Strait of Hormuz. And if things were to fail, Iran will receive a very hard response. These comments have become very common from the U.S. president. We are all trying to make sense of what are the events that are going to come in the coming days. I want to pass it to Norman. A very good morning to you. What are some of the updates that you have for us, Norman?
Well, good morning. We're trying to make sense of nonsense. We're seeing more deja vu. Our president is making these profound statements and comments about the status of the world. The Strait of Hormuz is going to be opening soon. If the strait is not open, Iran is going to face a harsh punishment from the U.S. More the same, and nothing changes. More the same, nothing changes. So we're hearing more, and it's starting to sound like an old, worn-out record playing over and over and over again. So while we doing that, we had some primary. Yesterday was a big day in the terms of elections. Several states had their initial primary runoffs, and the hope is that the runoffs, particularly the Democratic parties, get enough seats, get enough votes, so they can overtake the Congress in terms of replacing. There was several events, several primary runs in Virginia. There was which showed the Democratic Party, which Virginia is a blue state now with a blue governor. They have shown indications that this may possibly happen. So the trend, if it's going on now, the behavior is going on now, we're looking for change. Looking for change. The incumbents are now all subject to be removed and replaced with new blood. So here we go. We're getting, this is basically a warm up. I believe we had like 4 or 5 states that had their runoffs, their initial primaries yesterday. And if this is an indicator of what's going to happen in November, hold on. We're looking for change.
Right. As Norman Floyd Barnes has mentioned, there has been local elections run up to the U.S. Senate nominations that is happening. Many contenders from the local community are taking part. However, we look at the Middle Eastern situation, how the Middle Eastern nations are facing economic disruptions mainly due to the closure of various important waterways. One is, of course, the Strait of Hormuz, other being the Red Sea entrance, the Bab al-Mandab Strait. All of these patterns are showing a wider escalation in the days to come. Focusing in the studio with Abu Rust, you were hearing Norman Floyd Barnes. The situation remains very volatile. 8 months into the year, U.S. President Donald Trump seems to increase his tariff program across the world, as well as using very unconventional methods in trying to bring Iran to the negotiation table. Mind you that Iran has lost its supreme leader, and that is the vengeance that they carry even after the burial ceremony we've seen in July. It is still ripe that they're very vengeful, and any kind of situation can go wrong just in a matter of hours. We've seen it happen in Iraq, we've seen it happen in Jordan as well. I want to ask you, sir, how you observe this year up until now and what you may see in the coming days.
First, what is happening today, what we get from the international media. First one is Trump sounds optimistic on Hormuz Strait reopening amid good discussions with Iran. And second one is US and Iran edge towards Hormuz deal amid fresh maritime attacks. There was an attack on an Indian ship and which was sunk in Red Sea, and another attack was in the Strait of Hormuz. So this is a cat and mouse chase is going on, you can say. And what you have asked, that Iran was very vengeful, is supposed to be, but if you see the game theory there, what is going on, we find that there are two different groups in Iran. One is unseen and one is the legitimate government.
Right.
When they discuss with the president, the foreign minister and others, the negotiators, they discuss, they come to some certain terms with the Arab countries, with USA, and then the IRGC and other parts, they are different. They act differently. That is one problem. And from American administration, is that there is a, you know that this American administration is different than other administrations, unpredictable. You just cannot say that what they will do, when and where.
Right.
Yeah. Say, one day they talk about that, yes, discussion is going on fine, and we will be reaching on some settlement, the next day there is something else. But the question is, the world is suffering. If you look towards the map of the Middle East, the vital map, this Strait of Hormuz is now almost it's not operating from February 28. We are not getting, world is not getting oil, we are not getting, Bangladesh is not getting fertilizer from Qatar, we are not getting LNG from Qatar. So many things are happening, and then you can see in Bangladesh that how we are suffering for LNG and fertilizer. And the second portion was that this that Red Sea area, because through this Red Sea, all the maximum of the exports and import from Asia to Europe and to and fro, this passes from Red Sea through Suez Canal.
Right.
So Bab al-Mandeb is a very vital point, the next vital point. That is the choking point of that region, not only for that region, for the whole world, you can say, for the whole world economy and the supply chain. If this is disrupted, then you can well understand the Strait of Hormuz is if it is closed, then the Bab al-Mandeb is closed, then you are gone. Now Iran has a very good proxy there. You know, everybody knows that Houthis, they just fire missiles into Saudi Arabia without any say provocation or anything. And this not only happened after this Iran aggression, even in 2019 and later on, these Houthi guerrillas, they fired missiles, drones towards the Saudi refineries, and they disrupted the oil production time and again. So this is a very concerning issue. And Jordan, if you see the map, if you can somehow disrupt this corridor, then what will happen to the Asian countries? What will happen to the European countries?
Of course.
You see the China. China is the second most powerful country in the world, the superpower you call it or we call it. But China is the energy dependent country. Where from they get their energy? From Arabian countries. Now, if the Strait of Hormuz is somehow disrupted, already they are suffering. Now, if there is a problem in Bab al-Mandeb, then where from China will get energy? Maybe from Russia, then they have to refine it. How much they can refine the Russian oil? That is one question. Second, I can tell you, you can search it in the Google, that right at this moment, America is the largest producer of the refined oil in the world. It was not before this Iran aggression. And during last few months, these oil companies and others, they have deposited or earned 176 billion US dollar, because if you can remember, when the war started, the Iran was boasting and others were boasting that now the oil will be sold by yuan or other currencies.
Other currencies, right.
Have you seen in a single time that anybody purchased oil by yuan? Everybody had to purchase, even from the spot market, by US dollar.
Right.
So, the US dollar you just cannot change. So, if we come out from the hypes and all these other issues, so then you can say that this is the real brute reality. Now, USA might be in the near future be the only energy source, major world energy source for many countries, even for China. I will not be surprised, even for Japan, for South Korea, for Indonesia, for Philippines, because they had to get this energy oil from USA through Pacific. Now they are getting the Venezuelan oil and they are refining it. And you know
Right.
that the Venezuelan oil, without the American technology, you just cannot refine it. The Russian or Chinese, they don't have the technology. So if you consider all the things, this is a different game is going on. Everybody is fighting in Middle East. Every now and then we are assessing the situation, but things are happening in another place. What I see now, that everybody shouted, everybody raised hypes and so many things, that BRICS will change the world. They will go for different currencies. But the end result is now, right at this moment, nobody could change dollar. Dollar
Right.
is getting stronger.
Right.
Yeah.
Excellent
Petrodollar,
remarks by
yes.
Abu Rushd. Of course, the petrodollar is the reason why we see the move away from Middle East. The war in the Middle East is more or less that nexus of the BRICS nations trying to trade between themselves in their own local respective currencies. Of course, any kind of sanctioned oil would then be consumed by China. As we now know as well, China stopped exporting or importing in crude oil because it has hidden share reserves of this very resource. It is very hard to know how far stocked up they are, and that is exactly what I want to ask Norman Floyd Barnes. The discussion regarding petrodollar world trade, how are you seeing these developments, especially when a commodity used to be dealt in dollars is now having a chance of being dealt in the Russian currency, if not the Chinese currency? How do you see this, Norman?
Well, as the discussion goes on, the petrodollar is prime. It's the number one source of trading and currency in terms of all commodities. Uh, as my colleague mentioned, it's ironic that the U.S. is the number one, coming to be the number one energy source provider in the world. And it's also ironic that we are also fighting with Iran regarding the movement of these commodities through the strait. So the beneficiary of this is United States, Russia. They have oil reserves. They have oil producing abilities, and then the rest of the world has to pay the prime cost. So as the price goes up, more profits go in. I saw something yesterday quickly that the president mentioned that Exxon and a couple other, I don't know, Shell or whatever, some other oil companies were making too much money. So what is too much money? And why would the president throw something like that out at this time? Unless, unless there's a alternative plan. So things are happening that we don't see. Yes, we're looking at opening up the strait and getting things back to normal. But right now, money is being made. Petrodollars is surging. The people who have the oil is making tremendous amounts of money, more than they would do when the strait is open. So as long as the strait stays closed, as long as the ideology of it is pointed that it's a threatened area, the prices will remain high. They will go up. They will increase. which means more profits. So look, we have to look at the big picture. Who benefits from this the most? And that's where we find the answers, and that's where we can predict how the future is going to be. Right now, it's profit driven, and the ones who have it will make money, and the ones who do not have it will have to pay for it. So that's where we're at right now, and let's see how this thing turns out. The global South countries are making an attempt to use an alternative. China, Brazil, a couple other countries are looking at trying to get a new currency in place where this can be, you have an alternative, you have an option. That is some far time away, but as we have these conflicts that pops up all the time, the stable point right now is the petrodollar, and who has that, who controls that, controls the world.
Right, and as Norman was very blunt in stating, the petrodollar, as it has its specifics in controlling the world, the Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent came out to say that the US bought yen alongside Japan to curb the currency volatility and reduce risk to Asian markets. This is just a news that came out yesterday. With that being stated, I want to take a short commercial break. I request my audience to stay tuned for more on this very program. Hello and welcome to International Affairs, and my name is Shamsul Alam Panto.
I don't see an easy resolution to this because every slight deviation from the plan,
opening an open war conflict with them,
testing nuclear missiles,
Russia's announcement of these supposedly successful testing,
special and exclusive footage that is being played on SATV screen,
Really coming to terms with Hamas.
Damage estimated between this entire issue.
President Trump is expected to hold bilateral talks,
preserving biodiversity and tackling climate change.
We cannot protect the planet before we negotiate peace.
Where is it going? Is it understanding the needs of its people before the needs of this global world?
For China to come to agreement,
They will face better projects.
with President Xi of China and President Lee of South Korea.
Trump's White House that is in favor of these things.
simply not enough action being taken to address the problem of fossil fuels.
What their plan initially is towards the Caribbean, a place that has been met with two types of disasters.
Bangladeshi students at the same level of opportunity internationally and domestically.
International Affairs. Watch every Sunday to Thursday at 2 p.m. only on SATV and SATV Digital. Hello and welcome to International Affairs, and my name is Shamsul Alam Panto.
I don't see an easy resolution to this because every slight deviation from the plan,
opening an open war conflict with them,
Testing nuclear missiles,
Russia's announcement of these supposedly successful testing,
special and exclusive footage.
Welcoming our audience back on International Affairs. Today in the studio, I'm joined with Abu Rushd as well as Norman Floyd Barnes from Washington, D.C. We were in discussion of the Strait of Hormuz, the future of the economy, especially in terms of the trading currencies and how trade will be established in this kind of situation. Much of the ambiguity regarding Iran and the U.S., as we're still looking forward for a deal which may be revealed today between Oman, Iran and the US, especially in the usage of the Strait of Hormuz. But now on, we must look at other regions and how war has shaped geopolitics and vice versa. We look at Russia and Ukraine. In the last 2 or 3 days, we've seen a Ukrainian drone attack a beach in southern Russia, which has claimed the lives of many. And on the other side, we also see that Ukraine is accusing Russia of using a precision drone strike which has targeted a vegetable seller in the Kherson region. The video is a very shocking video. It causes distress among the people how a precision drone had targeted a civilian, someone who is not in the line of war, and it is becoming a very nasty war. 4.5 years, many soldiers lost their lives in this war. Many soldiers from other territories has been fighting this war from Russia to Ukraine. I want to ask Norman Floyd Barnes, how do you think that this war is taking shape? It is becoming a nuisance for the civilians as well, with civilian lives lost. The Russian strike kills at least 17. As Zelensky says, interceptors could have saved lives. We are talking about Ukraine not having enough munitions, and this is going to set the tone for the rest of the 4 months we have of the year. How do you see this, Norman, the Russia-Ukraine war?
Yes, what I see is more the same. The war has always caused pain and suffering for the people. It is not a new thing. Now the attacks, the drone attacks, are now being surgically inflicted on neighborhoods, on environments, with the deliberate effect. The effect is basically we want to have a psychological impact on the people, so they will have an impact on the government. So the government will hopefully change their way and decide, hey, this is too much. We can't do it anymore. We need to make some deals, make some agreements. So we're now going from we start out with a military type of thing now to what war is really about. It's about the people, the communities, the citizens, the neighborhoods, your way of life. These things have all been disrupted. Nothing has returned back to normal, what the people in Ukraine believe is normal. I have several friends who basically had to leave with their families and go other countries. Some of them are still away. They have no plans of coming back. Family members have been lost. Now we're looking at the way of life as we know it is going to be severely altered. And I do not believe it's going to go back to where it was. Something else has to happen. We don't know what it's going to be. We don't know how long it's going to last. But right now, the intentions of Russia is to create a war, which is endless, until the point where the people in Ukraine cannot survive. They cannot do what they normally do. Simple things like going to the store, going to the fruit stand, picking up a bag of fruit, going to the beach, touching the sand, just going to the beach. These things are now somewhat of a past until the country decide whether or not they're going to basically give in or continue to fight. So life is hell. It's disrupted. War, like I said, war is hell. That's why it's meant to be hell. It affects the people, not a military. We focus on military soldiers and whatever, but now you're going to see the real war. The real war is against the people.
Right, and as I make from Norman Floyd Barnes' statements, we are playing some exclusive footage that we see a drone is targeting a fruit vendor in Kherson, and then later he is stating that he got out with shrapnel wounds. Really attacking on the civilian infrastructure does cause a cause of concern from around the world, where both sides, both Russia and Ukraine, is denying that no civilian targets were targeted. So I want to ask Abu Rushd, you have military knowledge spanning decades, and I want to ask you, under what circumstances can this kind of attacks continue? Civilians in the line of fire, while the leaders are behind such vast infantry, such vast missile technology. The common civilian are being affected. And of course, in Ukraine, we also see over 20,000 children have been displaced as a result of this war. How do you understand, or how do you value these kind of developments?
Every war, the civilians are casualties. In everywhere, anywhere.
Yeah.
Have you forgotten 1971 war of our independence? Civilians were the main casualties. However, I raise few other questions apart from the recent happenings. Who is the aggressor here? Was it Ukraine or was it Russia? It was Russia who invaded Crimea, grabbed it in 2014 because the Ukrainian people, they deposed a dictator supported by Russia and opted for democracy. That is the thing we should remember. Russia is a huge country with nuclear powers, enormous military resources, and you may say this is the third most say powerful nation of the world. They have energy and whatnot. Why they invaded Ukraine? Just raise this question. But as a Bangladeshi, you see Bangladesh is a very small country.
Right.
And here also we face the same thing. A dictator was supported by our big neighbor for more than 15 years.
Correct.
And before that, in the 80s and the 90s, there was a movement in the southern part of our country named Independent Bangabhumi Movement. India wanted to grab certain districts of our country. So now many of the Indians, their analysts, even their retired military officers, they are saying that they want to grab our Rangpur division.
As well as the Chittagong hill treks.
You see, the pattern is same. What the Russians did in Ukraine, our pattern in our country is same. So the Ukraine suffered. Ukraine is the smaller country. They were invaded. We must remember this thing. I find many of our people, they are blatantly supporting the Russian aggression because Russia, the Ukrainians, they are siding with the Europeans or the democracy or the Westerners. This is a common pattern in many countries, and you have seen the North Koreans, the Iranians. They not only send weapons, the North Koreans send their military personnel there. Right. Many of our Bangladeshis even went to fight there.
They find themselves locked in this war.
They thought that they have some bizarre idea in their heads. I don't know. Now they have already, the Russians, they grabbed a certain portion of Ukraine too. And from the very beginning, Russia probably thought that it would take hardly 7-10 days to say take over Ukraine, but it didn't happen. The resilience the Ukrainians showed, it is unparalleled in history. Remember, it is unparalleled in military history. You may say the Westerners were behind it, the Americans were behind it. Okay, they supported. But who fought on ground? They were the Ukrainians. The Ukrainians, a huge population, Ukrainian population is now under Russian domination in the Donetsk and other areas.
The eastern flank.
In Crimea. So they, what do you think about it? If you just imagine that our Rangpur or some other portion of our country is taken away and our people had to live under some other country's administration, how they will feel? Try to feel this thing and then try to understand the problem. The Ukraine fought back, and I think, and I not only think, I can say with force, I can tell, that they fought well. They set a precedence in the history of warfare that a small country can fight against a bear. A cat can fight against a bear with such resilience, with such precision and boldness. And now the civilians, what is now is going on, the Russia is getting weaker day by day. They are now seeing that
there is a moral question between the soldiers.
Not only moral, they don't have young people, those who can serve in the military. They don't have adequate military personnel. They don't, their ammunition and other things are sliding down. And one thing you remember, what Mr. Gordon was telling, that the Russia has lot of oil. Everybody knows they have one of the biggest reserve they have. But there was a report there was a report in the media in July this year. The Russia requested India to refine its oil. Why? You must take into consideration, because during this Ukraine war, in Ukraine invasion, Russia lost its maximum refineries. These were blown off. So you see the pattern, how the Ukrainians fought. They not only, because they know they are a smaller country and Russia is a bigger country. So how they have to fight, they chalked out a plan earlier and they are fighting accordingly. You may say it an asymmetric war or something else, maybe, but they have targeted the refineries and other things and they destroyed it. And now Russia, they may have oil, but where from they will refine?
Dependent on India, dependent on
Dependent
other
on oil.
sources.
They are asking India to refine their oil. Another thing, what a bill is being proposed in the American Senate, that in the House, that the country which will purchase Russian oil will be will have to bear 100% tariff.
Right,
American
that's
tariff.
correct. Yep.
So India might face it. If the Middle Eastern situation is getting worsened, then where from India will get oil? From Russia? Then if they get oil from Russia, they will be put under this tariff, 100% tariff. Then China will face the same problem. So where Russia is standing, it's getting weaker. But why the civilians? Russia started it, not the Ukrainians. We have seen Ukrainian armed forces, earlier they never targeted civilian population. Russia from the very beginning, they targeted the civilian population. The Ukrainian apartments, buildings.
Strikes on the capital of Kiev.
Yes, everywhere. But now this is happening because this happens since 2022, it is nearly four and a half years. So some incidents will happen like this. But we should remember, and the military strategists and the military all over the world, they should follow this very closely, that how a smaller country can fight such prudently. That is the important thing.
Of course, very important commentary coming from Abu Rushd. Of course, comparisons of Ukraine and Russia and any kind of future territorial dispute between our nation and our neighbors, India, it was also touched upon. A very historic day today, August 5th. 2 years ago on this very date, the people stood up against an autocrat, a fascist leader, and had been ousted the leader, and it has been 2 years, 24 months have gone by. I want to pass it to Norman Floyd Barnes, your comment regarding Ukraine and Russia, and of course, some uncanny comparisons that have been drawn between our country and our neighbor as well. Norman, how would you analyze this kind of situation?
Well, like I said, today is a historical day. It brings back memories of the change, the takeover. Bangladesh is now a independent country. You have a new and hopefully flourishing government, and how that plays into the rest of the world is going to be uniquely different because we have a new world. We're not coming into something old. We're coming into a world right now, transition, change. We're looking to move forward. Old ways, we're still dealing with this energy issue. We are so dependent on a few locations for the rest of the world to survive. We're seeing it, and it's causing us dearly. It's showing us that we have to find other ways of surviving and sustaining ourselves. Depending on your lifeline, everything coming from one region is, as we see, not good. It's not good because things happen, and when that happens, you lose. Everybody lose. Nowhere in this world is that we see right now is not dependent on someone else. Its neighbor, someone across the village, there's someone across the road, some part of another part of the world. Everything emanates from our dependency on each other. We have to understand that we dependent on each other, and having these conflicts, these wars, whatever, depletes and it destroys relationships, but it also messes with the quality of life. So and I'm saying that because right now the quality of life should be the most important thing we're dealing with right now. We have issues with nature. Nature's doing this thing. We are creating problems with nature, and we also creating problems by having these conflicts and these wars. No one wins from this. You know, who benefits? Who has benefited so far from this conflict in the Middle East? No one. Everyone is a lose-lose proposition, except for a few people who believe that the money they're making is going to save the day and make things worse. But because of the world we live in, you may have the money, but if you don't have the resources, what good is the money? So
right, it becomes empty pieces of paper, as I make from Norman Floyd Barnes' statement. Excellent recap of the events from around the world. It is time for a short commercial break. Afterwards, we see the celebration and as well memorial of the 2 years ago ousting of a fascist regime. We will be discussing that after a short commercial break. Do stay tuned for more on this very program.
That is being played on SATV screen.
really coming to terms with Hamas.
Damage estimated between this entire issue.
President Trump is expected to hold bilateral talks.
Preserving biodiversity and tackling climate change.
We cannot protect the planet before we negotiate peace.
Where is it going? Is it understanding the needs of its people before the needs of this global world?
For China to come to agreement,
They will face better projects.
With President Xi of China and President Lee of South Korea.
Trump's White House that is in favor of these things.
Simply not enough action being taken to address the problem of fossil fuels.
What their plan initially is towards the Caribbean, a place that has been met with two types of disasters.
Bangladeshi students at the same level of opportunity internationally and domestically.
International Affairs. Watch every Sunday to Thursday at 2 p.m. only on SATV and SATV Digital. Hello and welcome to International Affairs, and my name is Shamsul. Welcoming our viewers back onto the last segment of International Affairs. We were, of course, joined with Norman Floyd Barnes. We were discussing so many issues pertaining from the Middle East between Iran and the US, as well as Ukraine and Russia, and how the attacks seem to become very severe in the last couple of days and hours. At this moment, I want to talk with Abu Rushd about why today is so important. 2 years ago, on this very day, at around 11 a.m. on August 5th, 2024, the Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina was told what she had refused to believe. The protesters could no longer be stopped from reaching the residence Gana Bhavan, and of course she had to flee to our neighboring country, India. And after that, many months of political turmoil had taken strong to this country. Reeling from that, earlier on in this year, in February, we now are under a democratically elected government, and what the majority of the people really want to know is what are some of the strategic changes that we have, the results of such an uprising, and how it should be implemented into this so-called system that we all live by. How far it has been successful, it is a matter of questions. Analysts and of course columnists do discuss this every now and then. I want to pass it to Abu Rushd. How do you see this very significant event in Bangladesh's history? Even some politicians compare this to the French Revolution, as in recent times as well. And of course, there is a very strange pattern when it comes to revolution. One after the other shall come and fall, even while the system will not change. This is theoretically speaking, but I want to pass it to you. How you believe today? We also see that our Prime Minister Tariq Rahman has inaugurated the July Uprising Memorial Museum in Dhaka with the interim chief as well in a very inclusive event today, earlier on today. How do you see these developments?
You see, I have when our independence war was going on, I was 5.5 years old, and we were in Dhaka and Munshigঞ্জ. So after the creation of Bangladesh for last 55 years, what I have seen all ups and downs, turmoil, this and that, this killing of two presidents, martial law, then the movement for democracy in 1990. Then again there is a caretaker government movement in 1994 to 1996. then so many things, then 1/11, then this came in 2024. Why all these things happened one after another? Why? Because Bangladesh was created as an independent nation, not only for this just to break out from Pakistan. The main reason was to establish democracy, because we wanted democracy. We wanted to talk freely. We wanted our freedom. That's why. Otherwise, yes, there was some problems with Pakistan, economic and other problems, disparity, there were theirs. But that was the main reason. But for last 55 years, we failed to achieve this democracy. We failed to achieve this freedom of movement, except for certain periods after 1990.
Right.
Or after when General Zia Rahman took over. He tried his best to say go for the civilian rule, from the military rule to civilian rule, and then he got very short period, 3.5 years, then he was killed. But why this happened? This July revolution happened. It shouldn't have been there. Had there been elections, proper elections, had there been freedom of speech, had there been good governance, then this shouldn't have been there. There would have been political instability, political continuation, and we wouldn't have talked like this, that blaming each other.
Right.
Now, this, if you can remember, then when 1/11 happened, that actually straightway that actually opened the gate for this all autocracy or say corruption, and the that is called depoliticization. And
Hello and welcome to International Affairs, and my name is Shamsul Alam Pantho.
I don't see an easy resolution to this because every slight deviation from the plan,
Opening an open war conflict with them.
Testing nuclear missiles.
Russia's announcement of these supposedly successful testing.
Special and exclusive footage that is being played on SATV screen.
Really coming to terms with Hamas.
Damage estimated between this entire issue.
President Trump is expected to hold bilateral talks.
Preserving biodiversity and tackling climate change.
We cannot protect the planet before we negotiate peace.
Where is it going? Is it understanding the needs of its people before the needs of this global world?
For China to come to agreement,
They will face better projects.
With President Xi of China and President Lee of South Korea.
Trump's White House.
August, when Bangladesh achieved a milestone victory for democracy, all these people, they fled to India. Every time they go to India. All the culprits from that party, anybody doing any say bad things, they will be going to India. And if you remember, even the killer of Zia Rahman, who was being arrested few days back, where he was hiding or where he fled? India. How India could harbor the killer of one president?
Not only so, harbored the killer of Osman Hadi. He's a member of the Manchu as well.
Which they don't like. Why they will not like others? I don't know. India is a big country. They create. I will blame India more than Awami League, because they have made Awami League like this. They compelled Awami League to be like this, or they influenced Awami League to be like this. Awami League is a political party. They led our independence war or independence movement. Why they have become like this? India wants Awami League to be here because of their strategic interest. They want tariff-free
usage of the
transit,
land, usage of the
transshipment. They want our Chittagong port, and their main target is our armed forces, our defense policy, so that we can't follow an independent defense policy. So they want to ensure that if there is a government supported by them and some sort of puppet government is here, then they can implement this very strategic idea. They want to keep their eastern wing, eastern wing safer.
Right.
As in the western wing, they have another Muslim country, Pakistan.
Right.
So they want to secure and keep it safer in the eastern wing. They want us, okay, you have armed forces, okay, you have armed forces, but it should not work. You don't have better weapons. You only have some divisions. You have your uniforms. you have your bombs and that, but you don't have your defense policies. There is no certain enemies, or you don't have other things, you don't have coalition with your friendly countries like China, like USA, like Saudi Arabia, like Turkey.
Right.
So they want to ensure it. So they always kept what they wanted to keep Awami League in power every time. So this is how an autocrat was born in our country. And how many people were repressed, how many people disappeared, how many of
Thousands.
them. Now Awami League, many of the Awami League, pro-Awami League journalists, intellectuals and cultural activists, they laugh. I was here, I am a journalist. I also suffered. I know how it was. And they laugh. More than 70 children were being killed. In the God's world, you are talking about Palestine, you are talking about Iran, you are talking about Gaza. That lady killed our children. That government killed our young people. They decapitated our younger generation. For what? Just to serve their masters. So that was a big achievement on 5th July that our common people, I am a trained military officer. I know how difficult it is to go in front of bullet. But can you remember in those days in 2004, 2024, how the civilians, rickshaw pullers, vendors, university students, teachers, they all went out of the street, on the street, and they faced bullets, armored personnel carriers. It is very significant in the world. Even UN has recognized it. So now these people just cannot say that nobody was killed, these were all extremist elements. No, they were not extremist elements. We are not extremists. And for the extremism, whatever remnants they have in Bangladesh, I will hold India responsible for that because of their wrong policies. This is the fallout, you may say.
Definitely. I thank Abu Rushd, a very emotional response in memory of those who have lost their lives. Many children were affected, many elderly were killed, the youngsters were on the streets, and of course the law enforcement agencies really did not know what to do. As we see the surrender of the past government, they have been ousted, with the UN, the United Nations reporting 1,400 people that were murdered by this genocidal government of the past. We mourn those who have lost their lives in this kind of uprising. On their bloodshed, we have now found a democratically elected government who is representing Bangladesh, and we will always continue to remember July and 36 July and what it means and how it has laid its foundation in the history books of Bangladesh. With that being stated, I am finishing today's program. I shall be with you all on this very show in tomorrow's installation.